Dr. Maya Patel stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic display of what appeared to be a child's drawing brought to life. The ship design rotating above the conference table violated every principle of aerospace engineering she'd spent 20 years studying. It all resembled a half-melted puzzle piece, with weapons sprouting at random angles and engine clusters that looked like they'd been arranged by throwing darts at a blueprint. "Distinguished council members," Maya began, her voice steady despite the skeptical murmurs, "I realize this appears absurd. But absurdity might be our only hope against the Archons." Admiral Chen, her weathered face bearing the scars of 3 devastating years of war against the alien empire, leaned forward. "Dr. Patel, we've lost 40% of our fleet. The Archons have pushed us back to Mars, and you're proposing we spend precious resources building this." Maya nodded, manipulating the hologram to highlight specific sections of the impossible ship. "The Archons have defeated us in every engagement because they are perfect. Their ships move with mathematical precision. Their targeting systems operate on principles we can barely comprehend, but that perfection is their weakness." She pulled up combat footage from their last major defeat at Europa. "Watch their targeting systems. They predict our movements with absolute accuracy because we build our ships and train our crews to follow optimal tactical patterns. But here," she highlighted a damaged human cruiser tumbling through space, its engines partially disabled. "Their targeting accuracy dropped 60% when trying to hit this ship because its movement was erratic." Professor Zhang, the Council's chief physicist, adjusted his glasses. "You're suggesting we intentionally build an inefficient warship. I'm suggesting we build a ship that operates on quantum uncertainty principles," Maya corrected. "The Archon's entire civilization is built on absolute predictability. Their neural networks can't process true randomness. It causes cascade failures in their targeting systems." She brought up data from her lab experiments. "We've been testing this theory using salvaged Archon technology. Their sensors literally glitch when confronted with objects moving according to quantum probability fields rather than Newtonian physics. And how exactly would this ship move according to quantum probability?" Admiral Chen asked, though Maya noted with hope that her expression had shifted from skepticism to curiosity. "By embracing technologies we previously rejected as too unstable." Maya pulled up schematics of various experimental systems. The quantum wavefront drive that was shelved because it produced unpredictable vector shifts. The probability cannon that was deemed too unreliable because its energy discharge patterns couldn't be standardized. Even the hull will be constructed using metamaterials that naturally shift their configuration in response to quantum fluctuations. "You're proposing we build a warship out of failed experiments." Professor Zhang's voice dripped with disdain. "I'm proposing we build a warship that operates on principles the Archons can't comprehend," Maya countered. "Their entire strategic doctrine is based on calculating optimal solutions. But you can't calculate an optimal solution for true quantum randomness. It's mathematically impossible." Admiral Chen studied the rotating hologram. "Even if this works in theory, where would we get these experimental components? Most of our research facilities have been destroyed." Maya smiled. "The Silicon Valley Technological Graveyard. Every failed prototype, every rejected experiment from the past 50 years is stored there. We don't need to build new components. We just need to embrace the failures we already have." The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Admiral Chen spoke. "The Archons will reach Mars in less than 3 months. How quickly could you build this quantum nightmare? With emergency resources and round-the-clock construction. 6 weeks. I've already identified the key components and assembled a team of engineers crazy enough to try. And you're volunteering to command this thing?" Chen asked. Maya's smile faded. "With respect, Admiral, I'm insisting on it. Nobody else understands the theoretical framework we're operating under. This isn't just about building an unconventional ship. It's about embracing uncertainty as a tactical doctrine. The crew will need to be trained to think in quantum probabilities rather than tactical certainties." Professor Zhang cleared his throat. There's something else, isn't there? Something you haven't told us. Maya hesitated, then reached into her pocket and placed a small crystal on the table. It pulsed with impossible colors, seeming to exist in multiple states simultaneously. We found this in the ruins of an ancient alien outpost on Titan. It's millions of years old, and it operates on the same principles I'm proposing. The Archons aren't the first perfect empire to threaten this galaxy, and quantum uncertainty isn't a new weapon. It's the universe's oldest defense against the tyranny of absolute order. Admiral Chen stood, her expression grave. The Council will deliberate. But Dr. Patel, if we approve this, understand that failure isn't an option. If your theory is wrong, Mars falls. Then Earth. Maya picked up the crystal, feeling its resonance with possibilities yet unrealized. Admiral, the moment we stop being afraid to fail is the moment we start having a chance to win. The Archons are coming to impose their perfect order on humanity. Let's show them why chaos has always been our greatest strength. As she left the council chambers, Maya could already feel the quantum possibilities branching before her. Humanity had spent centuries trying to impose order on an inherently chaotic universe. Perhaps it was time to embrace their true nature and teach the Archons why perfection had never been the answer to survival. The Silicon Valley Technological Graveyard stretched across 50 square kilometers of Nevada desert, a vast cemetery of humanity's failed ambitions. Maya stood atop a rusted gantry, watching as salvage teams swarmed over decades of abandoned prototypes, like archaeologists excavating the ruins of their own future. Found another quantum probability core, called out Dr. Raj Kumar, her chief engineer, his voice crackling over the comm. This one's from the 42 experiments, deemed too unstable for practical application. He laughed. Perfect for us, wouldn't you say? Maya checked the component against her list. They'd spent 2 weeks hunting through the graveyard, searching for technologies that had been rejected for the very qualities they now needed. Add it to the collection. How's the whole integration coming along? You mean the jigsaw puzzle from hell? Raj gestured toward the construction bay where their ship was taking shape. We're using metamaterial panels from 7 different canceled projects. Each section exists in a slightly different quantum state. The structural integrity field keeps trying to normalize them, but that just makes them shift more unpredictably. The ship looked like a fever dream rendered in metal and ceramic. Its hull plates seemed to ripple and flex, never quite settling into a fixed configuration. Weapon mounts sprouted at angles that made Maya's eyes hurt to look at directly. The engine nacelles appeared to exist in several positions simultaneously, a visual representation of quantum superposition that would have made Schrödinger's cat proud. Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, her newly appointed tactical officer, jogged up to the gantry. We've finished installing the probability cannon array. You need to see this. Maya followed Sarah to the weapons testing range. The prototype cannon they'd salvaged had been deemed a failure because its energy discharges followed quantum probability patterns rather than linear trajectories. Now, that same flaw was their greatest asset. Target is locked, Sarah reported, activating the weapon. The cannon hummed to life, its crystalline matrix pulsing with unlikely colors. When it fired, the energy beams split into multiple possibilities, each taking a different path through space before converging on the target from angles that shouldn't have been possible. Beautiful, Maya breathed. The Archon's predictive targeting systems will have an aneurysm trying to calculate those trajectories. Assuming we don't blow ourselves up first, Raj added, joining them at the range. The quantum wavefront drive is giving us interesting results. Every time we test it, the ship tries to go in every possible direction simultaneously. Maya grinned. Exactly as intended. The Archons can't target what they can't predict, and they can't predict what we can't even predict ourselves. Their conversations were interrupted by an alert from the command center. Admiral Chen's hologram materialized before them, her expression tense. Doctor, the Archons have broken through our defensive line at Deimos. We've lost contact with the Mars colonies. Your timeline just got cut in half. Maya's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. We're ahead of schedule, Admiral. The HMS Absurdity will be ready for initial trials in 10 days. HMS Absurdity. Chen raised an eyebrow. Seemed appropriate. Maya shrugged. We're building a ship that operates on principles even we don't fully understand. Might as well embrace the absurdity of it all. What about the crew? Chen asked. Have you found people willing to serve on this experiment? Better than that. Sarah stepped forward. We found people who understand why conventional tactical thinking won't work against the Archons. Engineers who see beauty in chaos. Pilots who trust their intuition over computer predictions. Gunners who've learned to feel the quantum probability fields. Maya nodded. We're not just building a ship, Admiral. We're creating a new kind of warfare. One based on embracing uncertainty rather than trying to eliminate it. And the ancient artifact. Chen's hologram flickered. Have you learned anything more about its origins? Maya pulled out the crystal, which had become more active since they'd started construction. It's responding to the quantum fields we're generating. I think it's trying to teach us something. The civilizations that created this understood that the universe isn't a problem to be solved. It's a dance of probabilities, and true power comes from moving with the chaos rather than against it. Poetic, Chen said dryly. But will it keep Earth from falling? The Archons believe they can perfect the universe through absolute order, Maya replied. We're going to show them why evolution favored chaos. Every failed experiment in this graveyard represents a possibility they never dared to explore. We're building a ship out of abandoned dreams, Admiral. And dreams have a way of becoming reality when you need them most. The next week passed in a blur of impossible engineering and quantum improbabilities. The absurdity grew more bizarre with each component they integrated, its systems operating on principles that defied conventional physics. The quantum wavefront drive created propulsion by exploiting uncertainty in the fabric of space itself. The weapons drew power from probability fluctuations that shouldn't have been possible to harness. Even the life support systems operated on a quantum level, keeping the crew alive through mechanisms that changed from moment to moment. But it was the crew that truly made the ship special. Maya watched as they adapted to thinking in quantum possibilities rather than linear certainties. Pilots learned to navigate by intuition when sensor readings showed multiple conflicting positions. Gunners developed a sixth sense for probability fields, firing at where targets might be rather than where they were. Engineers embraced the chaos of systems that refused to operate by any fixed rules. Finally, on the day before their scheduled launch, Maya stood in the Absurdity's command center, surrounded by displays showing readings that would have given any conventional captain nightmares. Nothing about the ship made sense by normal standards. It was a monument to everything humanity had deemed too unstable, too unpredictable, too absurd to use. And that was exactly why it would work. All systems are operating at peak inefficiency, Raj reported with a grin. Quantum fields are properly unstable, probability matrices are maximally uncertain, and the structural integrity field is holding us together through what I can only describe as sheer stubborn defiance of conventional physics. Perfect, Maya said, placing the ancient crystal in a specially designed housing at the heart of the ship. It pulsed in harmony with the Absurdity's quantum fields, as if approving of what they'd built. Send word to Admiral Chen. Tell her the impossible is ready for launch. As the message was sent, Maya looked out at the stars through a viewport that seemed to show multiple versions of reality simultaneously. The Archons were coming with their perfect ships and their absolute certainty, but they were about to learn why humanity's greatest achievements had always come from daring to embrace the absurd. The age of perfect order was about to meet its match in glorious chaos. The Absurdity emerged from its quantum probability field near the ruins of the Deimos colony, its hull shifting through multiple possible configurations as reality struggled to decide what shape it should be. On the command deck, Maya watched the sensor displays show 3 different versions of their current position, all equally valid according to quantum mechanics. Archon Scout Group detected. Sarah announced from Tactical, her hands dancing across controls that rearranged themselves based on probability fluctuations. 3 vessels, standard crystal lattice configuration. They're having difficulty getting a sensor lock on us. Maya smiled. Show me their scan patterns. The main display flickered to life, showing the Archon ship's sensor beams trying to analyze the absurdity. The alien vessels were beautiful in their geometric perfection, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in mathematically precise patterns. But their scanning beams seemed to slide off the absurdity's quantum-shifted hull like water off oil. They're broadcasting, Raj reported from engineering. Text only. Translating now. The message appeared on their screens. Anomalydetcted. Your vessel violates 47. Fu and de me and te logs of PHY. Power down for immediate correction. Let's show them what violation really means. Maya said. Tactical, activate the probability cannon array. Engineering, push the quantum drive to maximum uncertainty. The absurdity's engines pulsed with impossible colors as the quantum wavefront drive engaged. The ship moved in ways that shouldn't have been possible, following multiple trajectory paths simultaneously. On the Archon vessels, targeting computers designed to calculate perfect solutions began to encounter mathematical impossibilities. They're launching fighters, Sarah reported. Standard diamond formation. Wait. She laughed. Their formation just collapsed. The fighters can't maintain geometric precision this close to our quantum field. The Archon fighters, normally moving with ballet-like coordination, began to scatter as their navigation systems encountered zones of pure probability. Some vanished into quantum probability shadows, reappearing at random coordinates. Others flew in directions their pilots hadn't intended, caught in the wake of the absurdity's reality distortions. Multiple targeting locks detected, Raj called out. They're trying to adapt their weapons to our quantum signature. Maya touched the ancient crystal, now integrated into the ship's core. It pulsed in response, sending waves of quantum uncertainty rippling through space. Initiate attack pattern Chaos 7. The absurdity moved like a dancer interpreting a song only it could hear. The probability cannons fired, their energy beams splitting into countless possible paths before converging on the Archon vessels from angles that existed in quantum superposition. The crystalline hulls of the alien ships, designed to deflect conventional weapons with perfect efficiency, shattered as they tried to exist in multiple defensive configurations simultaneously. Direct hits, Sarah exclaimed. Their shields are trying to modulate to match our quantum frequency, but they can't lock onto a single probability state. The lead Archon ship, its perfect symmetry now marred by probability fractures, launched a full spread of missiles. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, guided by targeting systems that could calculate trajectories to 14 decimal places. Quantum interference field at full dispersion, Raj reported calmly, letting the uncertainty principle handle their targeting solutions. The missiles, confronted with targets that existed in multiple states simultaneously, began to spiral wildly as their guidance systems attempted to solve unsolvable equations. Some detonated prematurely, creating beautiful fractal patterns of explosion in space. Others curved back on impossible trajectories, striking their own launch vessels. They're retreating, Sarah announced, but Maya held up her hand. Wait for it. The Archons never retreat without understanding why they failed. Watch their scan patterns. Sure enough, the alien vessels held position just outside the absurdity's probability field, their sensors probing with increasing desperation as they tried to comprehend what they were facing. Their next message was longer. ERRR. Vessel configuration. DEFIES. LOGIAL ANNL ERRR. Movement patterns exceed computational limits. ERRR. QUANTUM. State CO8ERNC. Impossible. AT make hero STL. QUERO. How? Maya dictated their response. The universe isn't bound by your rules. Chaos was here first. The Archon ships hung in space for several more moments, their perfect crystalline forms seemingly paralyzed by the philosophical implications of what they'd encountered. Then, in perfect synchronization, they'd vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind only scattered debris that spun in quantum probability eddies. "Damage report?" Maya asked, though she was already grinning at the displays. "That's difficult to quantify," Raj admitted. "According to quantum sensor readings, we simultaneously took no damage, severe damage, and moderate damage to systems that don't technically exist. But we're operating within acceptable probability parameters." Sarah shook her head in wonder. They never landed a solid hit. Their targeting systems couldn't decide which version of us was real because, according to quantum mechanics, all of them were. "Send the combat data to Admiral Chen," Maya ordered. "The absurdity just proved its concept. But the real test is still coming." She studied the tactical display, where the quantum probability field was already showing ghostly images of possible futures. The Archons will analyze this encounter. They'll try to develop countermeasures to reduce our quantum uncertainty to manageable variables. "Can they?" Sarah asked. Maya touched the crystal again, feeling its resonance with possibilities yet unrealized. "They can try, but they're still thinking in terms of problems to be solved. They haven't grasped that chaos isn't a mistake to be corrected. It's the fundamental creative force of the universe." "Message from Earth Command," Raj announced. "Admiral Chen is authorizing immediate construction of 2 more quantum ships based on our design. They're calling it Project Uncertainty." "Good," Maya said, "because the Archons will be back, and next time they'll bring their full fleet. They'll try to impose their perfect order on our quantum chaos." She smiled. "And that's exactly when they'll learn why evolution favored adaptability over perfection." The absurdity hung in space, its hull still shifting through quantum possibilities, a monument to everything the Archons feared: uncertainty, irregularity, the defiance of absolute laws. They had built a ship that worked precisely because it shouldn't work, and in doing so, they had rediscovered something the universe had known all along. In the dance between order and chaos, chaos always led. 1 month after the absurdity's first victory, Earth's orbital shipyards had become laboratories of controlled chaos. Maya stood in the command center of the newly commissioned quantum fleet, watching as 5 more ships defied physics alongside the original absurdity. Each vessel was unique, assembled from different combinations of failed experiments and rejected prototypes, each generating its own distinctive pattern of quantum uncertainty. "The Archon main fleet has been detected passing Jupiter's orbit," Admiral Chen's hologram announced to the assembled captains. 1,000 ships, including 3 of their Worldbreaker-class vessels. Maya studied the tactical projections, which showed multiple probability streams of the approaching armada. The Archon fleet was a thing of terrible beauty, arranged in perfect geometric formations that reflected their absolute confidence in mathematical precision. They'd modified their hull configurations, Sarah noted, highlighting detailed scans. "Look at these lattice patterns. They're trying to adapt to quantum uncertainty." "But they're doing it wrong," Maya said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "They're trying to calculate chaos, to reduce quantum probability to manageable variables. They still don't understand that uncertainty can't be tamed. It can only be embraced." The quantum fleet now consisted of 6 ships: the absurdity, the paradox, the uncertainty, the entropy, the impossible, and the Schrödinger's revenge. Each had been built according to the same principles of quantum irregularity, but each had developed its own unique personality as its systems settled into different probability states. "Fleet captains, activate your quantum resonance fields," Maya ordered. "Let's show the Archons what happens when chaos works in harmony." The 6 ships moved into a formation that wasn't really a formation, a constantly shifting arrangement that followed patterns found in natural systems: the spread of forest fires, the flow of turbulent fluids, the neural patterns of dreaming minds. Their quantum fields began to overlap, creating zones of pure probability where the normal laws of physics became more like suggestions. Archon fleet is decelerating, Raj reported. They're launching their first wave, geometric assault pattern. 300 Archon vessels broke from the main fleet, their crystalline hulls now incorporating irregular elements in an attempt to mimic the quantum ship's success. But their movements were still too precise, their tactical algorithms still trying to impose order on chaos. All ships, initiate attack pattern butterfly, Maya commanded, naming the strategy after the chaos theory principle where tiny changes could cause massive effects. Probability cannons on random convergence. Don't aim where they are, fire where they might be. The quantum fleet moved like a shoal of fish, each ship following its own intuition while maintaining an almost mystical connection to the whole. Their probability cannons fired streams of quantum-entangled energy that existed in multiple states simultaneously, creating webs of possibility that the Archon ships couldn't evade because every possible evasion path intersected with at least one quantum state of the attack. The battle that followed defied conventional military analysis. The quantum fleet seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, their positions uncertain until the moment of attack. The Archon vessels, despite their attempts to incorporate chaos into their designs, couldn't break free from their foundational need for precision. Their modified hulls shattered as they tried to exist in multiple defensive states. Their targeting computers crashed trying to solve probability equations that had no single solution. They're adapting, Sarah warned as the second wave of Archon ships moved to engage. Their tactical algorithms are learning to predict our probability patterns. Maya touched the ancient crystal, which had grown more active as the battle intensified. That's because we're still being too predictable. All ships, initiate protocol dream time. The quantum fleet's movements became even more erratic as their navigation systems began drawing inspiration from human brain patterns during REM sleep. The Archon predictive algorithms, trying to anticipate ships that were literally moving according to dream logic, began to suffer cascade failures. Their world breakers are powering up. Raj's voice was tense as the massive Archon capital ships moved into firing position. Each one was capable of cracking a planet's crust with a single shot. Perfect, Maya said. All ships, quantum fields to maximum dispersion. Let's show them why bigger isn't always better. The world breakers fired, their energy beams capable of penetrating any known defense. But the quantum fleet's overlapping probability fields created zones where reality itself became uncertain. The massive energy beams seemed to pass through empty space, their targets existing in quantum states that hadn't intersected with the attacks. Impossible, came the Archon transmission. Your vessels violate fundamental cosmic law. Reality cannot sustain such disorder. Maya sent their reply. Reality isn't what you think it is. The universe isn't a machine. It's a wave function of infinite possibility. The battle reached its climax as the quantum fleet executed their masterstroke. Each ship activated its quantum wavefront drive simultaneously, but with their fields deliberately misaligned. The combined effect created a cascade of probability waves that rippled through space like a stone thrown into a pond of possibility. The Archon fleet's perfect formation collapsed as their ships were caught in quantum probability storms. Vessels designed to operate with absolute precision found themselves existing in multiple states simultaneously. Their crews, their minds linked to ships through neural interfaces calibrated for mathematical certainty, began to experience what could only be described as existential vertigo. They're breaking formation, Sarah reported with awe. Their entire command and control structure is falling apart. Through the quantum interference, Maya watched as the mighty Archon armada began to retreat, their perfect geometry dissolving into chaos. But it wasn't just a military defeat, it was a philosophical one. They had encountered something their entire civilization had been built to eliminate, the fundamental uncertainty at the heart of existence. As the Archon fleet fled through quantum-disrupted space, Maya received one final transmission. Query: how do you navigate without certainty? How do you exist without perfect order? The true nature of the universe wasn't found in perfect equations or absolute laws. It was found in the dance between order and chaos, in the endless exploration of possibility that had driven evolution since the first quantum fluctuation brought reality into being. 3 days after the battle, Maya stood in a chamber deep within the largest Archon world-breaker ship, surrounded by beings of living crystal whose perfect geometric forms were beginning to show signs of quantum uncertainty. The massive vessel, once the pride of the Archon fleet, now drifted in high Earth orbit, not as a prisoner, but as something far more revolutionary, a student. We have reviewed the combat data for the 742nd time. The Archon High Commander's crystalline form shifted through multiple probable configurations as it spoke. Our conclusions remain uncertain. Maya smiled at the hesitation before the last word. A month ago, no Archon would have admitted to uncertainty about anything. That's a good thing, she said. Uncertainty means you're starting to understand. The ancient crystal she carried pulsed with increasingly complex patterns, resonating with the quantum fields that now permeated the Archon vessel. The aliens had requested this meeting not to negotiate surrender, but to understand how their perfect civilization had been defeated by ships that shouldn't have worked at all. Your quantum vessels. Another Archon scientist manifested from a probability cloud. They operate on principles we deemed impossible, yet they exist. They function. They, the crystalline being, seem to struggle with the concept. They thrive because of their imperfections, not despite them. Exactly. Maya gestured to the displays showing the quantum fleet's battles. Every failed experiment we used to build these ships was an attempt to impose order on quantum uncertainty. When we stopped fighting the chaos and started working with it, we discovered something your civilization forgot long ago. The High Commander's form rippled. The discordant. The ancient ones who vanished from our records. Maya held up the crystal. They didn't vanish. They evolved. This artifact isn't just a piece of technology. It's a message about the nature of existence itself. The universe isn't a problem to be solved. It's an endless exploration of possibility. Around them, the Archon ship's crystalline walls had begun to pulse with new patterns, its perfect symmetry gradually yielding to quantum influence. The crew, their neural interfaces adapting to uncertainty, were beginning to experience reality as a spectrum of possibilities, rather than a single perfect state. Show them, Maya nodded to Raj, who had accompanied her aboard. Her chief engineer activated a quantum field generator they'd brought. The device, cobbled together from rejected prototypes and failed experiments, created a controlled zone of probability where multiple versions of reality coexisted. The Archons watched in fascination as order and chaos danced together, neither dominating, both essential. Your civilization achieved incredible things through the pursuit of perfection, Maya said. But perfection is static. It cannot evolve, cannot adapt, cannot create anything truly new. Look at your own history. When did your greatest achievements occur? When you had everything figured out, or when you were still exploring, still uncertain, still willing to embrace the chaos of discovery? The High Commander's crystalline form shifted into something less geometric, more organic. The quantum plague that nearly destroyed us a millennium ago. We saw it as a disaster to be contained, but you would say it was an opportunity for evolution. Life itself emerged from quantum uncertainty, Maya explained. Consciousness, creativity, evolution, they all require a balance between order and chaos. Too much order leads to stagnation. Too much chaos leads to dissolution. The sweet spot, the edge of chaos where complexity emerges. That's where the magic happens. As if to emphasize her point, the ancient crystal suddenly projected a complex pattern into the space between them. It showed the history of the universe, from the quantum foam of its birth to the emergence of galaxies, stars, planets, and life itself. At every scale, the dance between order and chaos drove creation forward. We have received reports from across our empire, the High Commander said. The quantum effects from our battle have spread. Our perfect geometric cities are beginning to show signs of probability fluctuation. Our neural networks are experiencing creativity. Are you afraid? Maya asked. Yes, the crystalline being replied, and the admission itself was revolutionary. But we are also curious. That single word represented a profound shift in Archean consciousness. Curiosity required uncertainty, required the admission that there were things yet to be learned, possibilities yet to be explored. We propose an exchange. The High Commander's form settled into something that balanced crystal clarity with quantum possibility. We will withdraw our forces from Earth's space. In return, we request teachers, humans who can guide us in understanding quantum uncertainty, who can show us how to navigate chaos without losing ourselves to it. Maya shared a look with Raj, who nodded. This was more than just a military victory. It was the beginning of something new. We accept with one condition. The teaching goes both ways. Humanity still has much to learn about the mathematical principles you've mastered. Perhaps together, we can find a balance between order and chaos that neither of our civilizations could achieve alone. The agreement that followed wasn't recorded in any single document. It existed in a quantum superposition of possible forms, each equally valid, all part of the greater truth. The Archean fleet departed Earth, not in perfect formation, but in a flowing pattern that resembled schools of fish or flocks of birds, their ships beginning to show signs of organic adaptation. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Absurdity, watching as the first joint human-Archean quantum research facility took shape in orbit around Mars. The facility's architecture was unlike anything either civilization had created before, a flowing blend of crystalline precision and quantum uncertainty that seemed to dance with possibility. The latest results from the cultural exchange program are in, Sarah reported, joining her at the viewport. Archean artists are beginning to create non-geometric forms. Their scientists are exploring probability-based mathematics. And their children are learning to play. Maya touched the ancient crystal, which had found a permanent home in the Absurdity's quantum core. It pulsed with a pattern that felt almost like laughter. The discordant didn't leave us a weapon, she realized. They left us a key, a way to unlock the quantum potential that exists in all conscious beings. The ship's quantum field hummed around them, a reminder that the universe's greatest mysteries weren't solved through perfect equations or absolute certainty. They were explored through the courage to embrace uncertainty, to dance with chaos, to find beauty in the imperfect and strength in the unpredictable. The dumbest warship in the galaxy have become unstoppable, not by being the strongest or the most advanced, but by reminding two civilizations of a truth written into the quantum foundations of reality itself. In a universe of infinite possibility, the only perfect strategy is to remain perfectly open to imperfection. And somewhere in the quantum probability fields that now connected humanity and the Archeans, the discordant watched their ancient plan unfold exactly as chaotically as they had hoped.